How's it going, everyone? No match this past week for Orange County, so we're just going to be looking ahead to a couple of matches against two East Coast teams, and we will do our best. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about the teams from the East, but we'll do our best to preview this and have some fun while we're doing so. Let's get this thing started. Welcome to the Podcast of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I'm here to take you through the journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Let's see who's helping me out tonight. We got Nathan.
It's me.
Welcome back, Nathan. And you're wearing the awesomest shirt possible, the gnarly kit. How you doing, Nathan? Long time no see.
I'm doing pretty well. I got school work starting back up pretty soon. Just been cruising along through summer.
And, you got a soccer team that's hitting the gas at the right time here, and I'm sure you're getting excited about that. Repping the gnarly kit that I think should be an official kit for Orange County, if there ever was one. I think it's a pretty darn awesome kit. What are your thoughts on that kit before we get into these upcoming matches? Like, were you surprised when you got it, opened it up, saw it? What were your thoughts?
So, first things first, this thing, it's so ugly that I like it in a weird way. But no, so I got the package. I just saw OCSC, and I didn't know what it was at first. So when I opened it up, my eyes just lit up like a kid. It was definitely a pleasant surprise. And yeah, now I own probably the best jersey that OC has ever unofficially released to the public.
Yeah, and I think, what was it? It was something where Orange County came out and said, yeah, we have to get so many orders for us to make the print on this. And I guess they got enough orders for that, which was pretty darn cool. And I think there was skepticism from some of the Orange County fans whether or not we'd hit those numbers. Unfortunately, I was one of the ones that really loved that shirt, but I never actually went and ordered. I was really sort of bummed on that. And who knows, maybe Orange County keeps that that was the only time anyone could order it. So you're going to have, like, 5 years down the road, you're going to have a really, really rare kit there. Now, the more important thing is getting that autograph from Gnarly to make it complete, right?
Yeah, that's probably like the least of my worries with that. But yeah, I mean, it's cool.
And I like the comment we just got from Mustang Ed 23. Orange County, I don't think has ever really gotten into the ugly sweater business, but this whole Gnarly thing, it's actually a really good opportunity for the club to do some fun stuff, like an ugly kit, an ugly sweater come the wintertime, although I don't know what kind of sweater you need in Southern California. But I know there's people that love those ugly sweaters for the holidays, whether they're wearing it in the office and things of that. So that'd be pretty cool if we get a chance to see those. Obviously, people aren't here to talk gnarly kits, gnarly ugly sweaters, or anything like that. We're here to talk Orange County Soccer Club, and Orange County, I think for the first time in a while, sort of got the weekend off. I know when we reached out to the club last week for our show to see, hey, can we get any guests from the team to come talk to us? We were told no. The team was sort of given some time off, which very well-deserved from this team, the way they've really played over the last couple months. And now, after a weekend of no play, they're sitting 5th in the Western Conference. And I believe when I last looked at the standings, they, before they had some sort of discrepancies with games in hand and things of that nature. But I think that has sort of caught up, where the teams all around are within one game of each other, which is always nice to see. And We got tough opponents coming up, and specifically within the next week, 2 very tough opponents. We're talking about, I believe, the 2 top teams in the Eastern Conference. That's going to be Pittsburgh Riverhounds on Wednesday, and followed by a weekend matchup against Charleston Battery. I'm going to be honest, and maybe you're better at this than I am, Nathan. I don't follow the Eastern Conference that well. I actually don't really pay attention to the Eastern Conference unless we get into the playoffs. I'm sure a lot of Orange County fans are like that. You like to sort of focus on the teams you're playing more often than not. But as we look at the standings, I mean, Orange County sitting in that 5th spot. The cool thing when we look at it all, and this is just sort of really nothing important, but the USL Power Rankings also came up and they kept Orange County at number 1, even though Orange County didn't have a game, with the message, hey, 2 big games coming up this week. We'll see where Orange County really stands after this week. Let me ask you this real quick before we sort of try and do a little quick breakdown on these matches, Nathan. Which of these 2 teams between Pittsburgh and Charleston scare you the most this week? The Wednesday match against Pittsburgh or the weekend match against Charleston? They're both at home, by the way.
Yes. So it's definitely going to be Pittsburgh at home on Wednesday. They just have looked way much better team overall. Better offense. It's mostly the defense that is much better. Like Charleston's defense isn't the best. I think they only have like a +2 goal differential, which for a team in second place is not really that well. So Pittsburgh is definitely the scarier team. And also it's a thing where, OC is coming out of a long break. Hopefully they can keep the momentum going into Wednesday. And, Pittsburgh is going to be traveling down from Pittsburgh, obviously. So I think Pittsburgh is probably the tougher of the 2 teams. But, again, Charleston is no slouch either. So that's my point there.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about this, right? Pittsburgh is coming off a weekend match. For those of you watching the live video stream, we're showing the highlights of the match against Hartford. That was on the 12th, so I believe that was Saturday. Now they have to make the trip from Pittsburgh to Orange County. As best I can, remember, and as best as I believe, there's no direct flights that go from Pittsburgh to John Wayne Airport. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone travels quite a bit. But so it's going to be a little bit of a difficult travel, first and foremost, to get from Pittsburgh to Irvine, coming off a weekend match where, again, Orange County didn't have to do anything. So I'm worried about Orange County having that weekend off. That's very scary sometimes. But you're also looking at it as there's a really big advantage there that Orange County had a week off to rest, recuperate. They're at home still. Pittsburgh's coming off a weekend match. Now has to travel out for a midweek match against Orange County. So that's where you have maybe a little bit of an advantage for Orange County when it comes to the home. Obviously, the form for both of these teams is pretty darn good. So if you're looking at just sort of the basic aspects of things, Orange County gets maybe a little bit of an advantage for being at home and for being having played a little bit less. We look at opponent comparisons because both these teams have now played Hartford. Orange County did play Hartford early in the season. Going back to April when we still didn't quite know what this Orange County team was going to be like. It was on the road in Hartford, and it was a 1-1 draw for Orange County, whereas Pittsburgh came out with a 2-0 victory over Hartford at home. Any of these players you're aware of from Pittsburgh? And be honest with me, if you don't really have any names in mind, because again, I know you're probably like me. We don't super follow Pittsburgh, but any names that pop out when you look at the Pittsburgh roster that scare you at all?
I'm only saying it because I really have their roster in front of me on my phone, but Dikwa, the forward, is like their main guy. There you see on the screen. He's definitely the one to watch out for. He's basically there, Milan, always down to know where he is on the pitch. If you can shut him down, then you have a good chance of shutting their whole team down.
So basically what we're looking at is our defenders, whether it's, obviously more than likely, you got Marcus Nakeem. Sorry, I was going blank there for a second. I didn't freeze. Marcus Nakeem probably is slotting in that start, and more than likely, if it's the way it's been as of lately, you got a Dylan Powers in there. Really, the focus between those two has to be Dikwa, and then just sort of do that whole thing that you see in a lot of sporting events where you just sort of key on one person and try and let the rest of the players destroy you. Now, one thing to think of, more than likely, any team going against Pittsburgh is looking at that as the, game plan we want to go with. And obviously he's scoring goals this season. So people may be trying to do or do that type of strategy against Pittsburgh, and it's not quite working. Yes, Bob Lilly. Thank you, Freddie, for jumping on. Bob Lilly, the coach for Pittsburgh, really good USL Championship coach, well-known across the league. But again, and we've talked about this in the run, Morten Carlson's been really, really precise with his game plan, his changes of strategy, his substitution patterns. They've all worked out really well. So hopefully you get something where you get, a really good coach, who's had a good run in the USL, and this newer, seemingly good coach that is trying to make a name for himself. Who from Orange County are we hoping shines in this match, or who do you look at from Orange County that needs to step up for Orange County to come away with 3 points against Pittsburgh?
See, I wouldn't say anyone needs to step up because they've been doing all their job pretty well. So I say, it's just definitely are going to have to outscore Pittsburgh. So, it's not going to be like Milan. It's going to be McNulty. It's going to be either Jameson or Creede, who have definitely held their own against big teams as well. We've seen that with both players. So I say just the forwards and the midfield have got to put away 2, 3 will be amazing, and go from there.
Let's just say this, right? I'm gonna be watching players like Kyle Scott, Kevin Partita in the middle, trying to manage that portion of the pitch, because that's something that has been really good for Orange County in this run. So we'll see how they do against this Pittsburgh team. Obviously, you'll see Kevin Partita probably dropping back to help a little bit more on the defensive side of things, playing that aggressive style that some people love, some people hate because they're worried about the cards. I love it personally because I like to see aggressive players out there. For those watching the live stream, and we have our very own Brad in the chats. He decided to just join us for chats and not actually put his face on the screen today, but he's chiming in with some great information. So we will keep sharing that with y'all. And he's saying that Kyle Scott and Kevin Partita is going to have a difficult time in these 2 matches. So maybe it's what those two do. If they can dominate in the midfield for both of these matches, we got something good going on here maybe. And who knows, by the end of this week, we can have 6 extra points for Orange County. And that would probably guarantee them being in the top 4 in the Western Conference. At the end of this, I can't remember if the other teams, who is it? San Diego, that's right in front of us, but I can't recall if they have only 1 game this week. So obviously if Orange County has 2, they're guaranteed if they can get the 2 wins to move up into the number 4 spot. Let's talk about this Charleston match that's going to happen the weekend after. Not weekend after. Well, yeah, the weekend after, a midweek match. So Wednesday, Pittsburgh, Saturday, Charleston. What are we feeling on this one? Because I believe Charleston is also. Did they come off of a? Let's see what's their recent performances here. Detroit City.
Yeah,
they beat Detroit City this past weekend. And then they have the whole week to prepare for us. So they're not sort of stuck in that same position that Pittsburgh's in, where they're playing and then immediately having to travel out pretty much to the next opponent. But for Charleston, it's a little bit, I think, longer of a travel. And obviously, again, not a direct flight from Charleston to John Wayne. So we'll see how that goes. Charleston, though, in their last few matches has looked really good. A 1-0 victory over Detroit, a 1-1 draw against Louisville. They did lose to Oakland, which, when you're comparing East Coast, West Coast stuff, there's a little bit of comparison for you. But then prior to that, a win against Birmingham, a win against Pittsburgh. So, when we're looking at these two top teams in the East, Charleston was one of the recent ones to beat Pittsburgh. So maybe they're the more scary opponent here with a little bit more rest. What are your thoughts? Can Orange County pull out a win against Charleston after having to play Pittsburgh midweek?
It's going to be really tough, I think, because the main issue with Charleston this year, it was their defense. But in their past 3 games, they've only let in 2 goals, which for them is pretty good. Yeah. They're kind of like just like the big surprise this year. Like I know, like in recent years, Charleston wasn't really that good in the East, and they kind of definitely picked it up. So I think if OC were to get all 6 points from this weekend, I think it'll be probably the best stretch we've had career-wise, maybe, like franchise-wise, because if you look at who we've beaten and how far we've come, then it's definitely like a thing to look back on later on in the season, as these 2 teams are good benchmarks of like where we are as a team, because we've been the best teams in the West, but can we do it against teams in the East? Is what I'm getting at.
Well, and again, we look at sort of some match comparisons, right? So recent match comparisons, we can look, both of these teams have faced Detroit. Both came away with a 1-0 victory in Detroit. So, when you look at that, and for Orange County, that 1-0 victory in Detroit was sort of at the beginning stages of when they became what they are right now. They hadn't quite gotten there yet, but that was sort of part of that run where Orange County starts looking like the Orange County I think everyone was expecting, right? Because that was back in late June. I guess it's the early parts of that run, because we lost to Colorado Springs and then went on a nice little path of games there. Tulsa, Detroit City, Monterey Bay, the one hiccup against RGV. So if we look at, common opponents that we can compare with, that's a really good comparison, both on the road in Detroit, 1-0. So these are really, again, tight matchups between these 2 teams with the, I guess you got to look at it. This is going to be a tough one because there's an advantage for both teams. There's advantage for Orange County playing at home. There's an advantage for Charleston because they're not playing a midweek match. So they're going to be a little bit more rested for this. So that's sort of a wash. So I guess we look at it. I know Brad's gone on there. It looks like Freddie's talking about this. Contend with 4 points. That should, I guess, be, if we can get 4 points out of these 2 matches, you're probably looking good. More than likely, you're still in the top 4 in the Western Conference. I, again, have to go look at what the other teams have on their schedule. But I guess 4 points against the top 2 teams in the East, that's you would take that 90% of the time, right? If that's what you get. And it would continue a good unbeaten run for Orange County, which is very valuable there. But who knows? This team has looked awesome. They've gotten to the point now where, earlier in the season, we would have thought, okay, we're done. This game's over. This match is over. Let's look forward to the other thing. And now you have some confidence, even when they concede an early goal. If we're talking about the 2 matches, what do you think the results are going to be, honestly, Nathan, between Orange County and Pittsburgh, Orange County and Charleston? What's the results going to be for those 2 matches?
As much as I want to say we win both games, realistically, I'll be fine with, again, 4 points. A win and draw would be perfectly fine with me. So I'm going to say that we're going to tie Pittsburgh 1-1. Just put out there. And then Charleston, I'll say a 2-1 victory, as we'll get our swagger back, I'd say.
Okay. So ultimately you're saying 4 points, keep the at least not losing streak going. If those are the results and San Diego does end up winning their match, I believe San Diego would still be 1 point No, we'd be ahead of San Diego, right?
Yeah.
No, actually, no. 4 points for us. If they were to get 3, they'd still be 1 point ahead of us in the standings. So ultimately, if we want to guarantee that we're going to be in the top 4, we have to take all 6 points this week. San Diego only has the 1 match. Oakland does have 2 matches on their schedule this week as well. But again, the good thing if San Diego only has the 1 match, that's a game in a match in hand for Orange County for the future there. Or sorry, no, it wouldn't mean that. It would mean a match in hand for San Diego. So let's not even talk about that. I'm not used to it just being me and one other person trying to talk about teams that we're not too familiar with. So I apologize, and I appreciate everyone that's jumping on, sharing in the comments your thoughts with all of this. And thanks to our producer, Andy, for putting together some highlight reels and some stats and all that for us. Let's do this really quick because I know you sort of gave your predictions already for 2 matches, but let's look at our prediction game here soon and see how things are going with this. I know we got our highlights going on for this Charleston-Detroit city match, so we'll let those run a little bit. But prediction-wise, I think this is going to be a pretty big and interesting week for Orange County fans to make some predictions. Tough teams to try and come up victorious with. Obviously, I'm hoping Larry continues his 2-0 for the opposing team because that works. That's now scientifically proven with both Larry and myself a few years back. So if you look at Larry, although he's not in last place for the on-air team, he's definitely nowhere near Taylor, who's a genius. We are learning that this season that Taylor is a genius when it comes to predicting scores. If we, I don't know, maybe she needs to switch places with Brad, and she can be out in Vegas and she can create the betting line for Orange County and people can listen to what she's saying. For the writing team, Nathan, you're doing pretty good. I mean, you all are pretty close there. You, Andy, and DK. Tyler's not quite with you guys, but good job there. And then for those of you that are the prediction gurus in the community, we got a few good ones there, right? We got who is the top one on there? Is it Haggis now, right? He has moved into the top. He's had some good weeks predicting the scores and predicting the goal scorers. It's really helped out. Let me do this. I gotta remain confident because I think that's part of what's been going on these last couple weeks. I'm going to say against Pittsburgh, Orange County wins 3-1 with the first goal scorer. I'm going to have to go with a Milan Oloski on this. And then for Charleston, Orange County wins 2-0. Let's go 2-0 against Charleston. Let's say Thomas Among is the first goal scorer for that match for my prediction. Feel free to share your predictions in the chats as you're listening. Make sure you get those predictions in to the official prediction game. I've been bad at that this year. That's why my score's so low. I will try and make sure to remember to do that this time around. I don't think I asked you much, and feel free to say you don't really know anything, but is there anyone about the Charleston team that scares you when you look at the names on that roster, or is it just
I mean, there are names that I recognize, like, Williams, Aiden Apodaca played for them. I know that. Cochran, I know that too. But I'd say maybe Williams, I guess. That's their main guy, obviously. So, we'll say him because with Pittsburgh, there were some guys that I know he's a threat, Dickwet was, and so Williams is probably their main guy. But there are some names on that team to watch out for, I'd say.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't follow enough when I watch a Charleston, or I don't even watch Charleston or Pittsburgh enough to have a thought on any of this. So I apologize on that. There we go. Go County boys from 1-1. Let's do this. So last week, since we didn't have any previews to talk about, we had an opportunity to sort of just, get a feeling of how we're all feeling with the team now that we're, past midseason and we're on a good run. So I want to give you your chance, Nathan, to just share or give your report of how you feel Orange County is at this point. How confident are you in this team? Do you feel like this run is legit? Do you think like this run is a little bit of a, bloated looking run for Orange County, and maybe we're anticipating too much out of this team? What are your thoughts right now with Orange County heading into this tough stretch, but what they've been doing as of late, or how the season's gone so far for you?
See, I'd say we've already been in a bit of a tough stretch already, and we've already done well. We've won games where in past years we've all lost. So we've had 2 comeback victories on the road. We've had games where we've scored 4. We've had games where we scored 3. We've had shutouts. So my confidence right now in this team is probably the highest it's been since 2021, which I know is not really saying much, and not really a hot take there. But the 2 games that come to mind, I'd say, are the game against Memphis, where go down 2-0 early on, come back. And then the game versus Loyal. Derby game, go down way early, and then beat them easily, 3-1. So I'd say this is not a fluke in the slightest. It's just definitely all the parts of Charleston's machine clicking at the right time.
Perfect. I saw while you were talking, we had Freddie in the chats just sort of curious to wanting to know how Pittsburgh and Charleston are doing against the Western Conference team. I don't have those stats directly in front of me, but I looked at sort of the results through the season. And just looking at some of the things that we see on there is looking at Pittsburgh. They did lose to Colorado Springs early in the season. They did beat RGV. They lost to El Paso. Who else did they play? They had a draw against Monterey Bay. They beat Las Vegas. They beat Phoenix. And they had a draw against Oakland. They beat San Diego. They had a draw against Sacramento. Did they play anyone else from the West? I don't think so. And then when you look at someone like a Charleston, looking at their matches, I believe when did the season start? Can't remember exactly when the season started. I'm looking at the dates here. I know they played Pittsburgh in March, but I don't know if the season had started at that point.
Yeah. It should have, started in March.
So they drew against Pittsburgh. They drew against Phoenix. They drew against Sacramento. They, who else did they play from the West? They lost to Colorado Springs. They beat Las Vegas. They lost big to San Antonio, 7-0. They beat Monterey Bay. They beat RGV.
So, let's see. In July, they played on from the West. In August, they only lost Oakland. However, one thing that I will say is that they have not really traveled west much at all. So, the game versus Oakland was home versus, let's see. They were only away at Las Vegas and RGV, but that's Texas. That's it. Also note they were away at Republic FC. So
okay. So I mean, they've done the cross country thing a couple times this year, pretty much. Both teams, there's no domination there when you look at what they're doing against some of these teams. Obviously, they both beat Las Vegas. I think a lot of teams do that. The big one you can sort of, I guess, look at when you're looking at West Coast teams and comparing it with Orange County. Of recent memory, there's the RGV. All 3 teams have played RGV. Of course, Orange County lost one match, beat the one at home, but was victorious at home. So, there's the thing. And again, I've talked about that RGV match in the past. I think the RGV match, one play really turned the tides in that match for Orange County. Not making excuses, but it really did there. That could have easily been a draw for Orange County there. So that's a pretty easy comparison with all 3 teams there. But I really do think that cross-country thing for both teams is going to be difficult for different reasons. Pittsburgh, not traveling as far. It's still pretty darn far. I mean, if you do geography pretty well. Pittsburgh is not an easy travel to South County. I do see we have one other member of our team here that can join us, and maybe he's a little bit smarter with all this stuff, Charleston and Pittsburgh, and what to expect out of all this. We bring him on and then we lose him because he disappears under the table. There he is.
Hey.
What's up, Dylan?
Much like Orange County this year, I'm a little bit late to the party, but once it gets going, it's a great time.
There we go. Dylan, we're trying to figure things out because Nathan and I both were honestly admitting that we don't really follow the East Coast much when it comes to USL Championship. I don't know how well educated you are in Pittsburgh and Charleston, or what thoughts you have on either of these upcoming matches. We have discussed sort of the difficulties for both of the teams visiting us. Charleston has a little bit more of a travel. Pittsburgh's had a weekend game playing midweek, having to travel to Orange County, which is never easy. I guess my first question, Nathan, was which one is the scarier of the two opponents coming into Orange County, Pittsburgh midweek or Charleston on the weekend? And this is for you, Dylan, because I already talked to Nathan about this stuff.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused by the way you asked that question.
I realized that when you kept your mic on mute after I was done, and you're just staring there waiting for an answer. So I apologize for that.
I think Pittsburgh, Lily Ball is so successful in the Eastern Conference because their games tend to be a little less. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe how the Eastern Conference is for those who are maybe unfamiliar, but boring is a great way of looking at it. Oh, it's like watching Serie A and then going and watching the Bundesliga. One of these is a drug-fueled, chaotic, counterattacking, wonderful, super exciting, and the other one is passing for the sake of passing, and over the course of 15 minutes, you might work your way up the field to actually finally take a shot. So, unfortunately, Lee Ball falls into the Italian side of things here, but it works, and he's been there for a long time, and he is one of the more successful USL coaches for a reason. So, also, as good as Charleston has been this year in comparison to last year, which I feel like they've probably already hit the points total from last year, I still have to go with Pittsburgh here. They're going to be much more difficult to break down overall.
And you don't think in this, playing a weekend match, then having to travel to Orange County for a midweek match is going to impact them too much with their style of play?
I'm not going to call it anti-football because that's what we played for 2 years.
We tried the Lily Ball game plan. It got us a championship, but then didn't really do much after that, right?
Yeah, it's great in knockouts, right? We watched quite a few teams do it with some level of success, including, well, I already mentioned them, the Italians in 2021. I don't necessarily think that their game is as, I guess frantic is a good term, but energetic. And I think we saw this. We were definitely a fit team in 2021, but when we played against San Antonio comes to mind, there was a reason that their players were all dead and cramping 105 minutes into that match, and Orange County players were kind of just hanging out and tired, but still upright. And I think there's a level of, if you're not playing an expansive game, you are physically working less, maybe mentally working more defensively, but physically probably not making as far of runs unless you are one of the 2 or 3 players that is really tasked with doing that. So I don't think the fatigue's going to do it, and I don't think the weather's going to do it because it's the East Coast during the middle of the summer. It's nasty there too.
Definitely is. So basically what you're saying is the Orange County players need to not get themselves caught up into this over exerting themselves playing against Pittsburgh. And probably you want to avoid that because you have a game in the weekend against Charleston. You don't want to be too exhausted for that match as well, right?
A counterpoint, I think you have to go into every match as if it's the last match of the year. When you start as poorly as we did, you don't have maybe a level of complacency. We saw that in 2018 when we were top of the league and we dropped points to RGV on a couple of occasions. And I remember speaking to some of the players, and it was almost a feeling of we are better than them, so they do expect to win. And then, well, you do tend to drop points in that situation. With how bad we were at the beginning of the season, we don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury to drop points. And it was a pretty massive loss to Colorado Springs. And thankfully that galvanized the team. I think you have to try and win Wednesday. You have to try and win Saturday. And I don't think there's any, hey, I'm gonna save myself these last, or maybe for 15 minutes of this match to try and be ready for Saturday. It's, there's 2 full days there, plenty of recovery, and there's probably no real training, maybe a light session on Friday, so they'll be fine.
Well, and the benefit for Orange County in this is they have shown that they're willing to make the substitutes in the attacking side of things late in a match. So maybe not as worried about players being too tired heading, into it. You'll have a rotation definitely with, if Sparky is fit and ready to go. You got Thomas Among, you got Milan up there, you got Brian up there, you got Bryce Jamison, you got Oshandina. And if I can recall correctly, I know he's been playing more of a defensive role, but Langford is able to play a little bit further up the pitch. I think he played as a winger in Germany, 3rd division. So you have plenty of attacking options. So yeah, maybe it is this where you continue the style that's been working for you, which is a little bit more of a high press from Orange County and dominating the midfield, running around quite a bit. But with the thought of you can rotate if needed and hopefully pull the full 6 points out. Do you think, how realistic do you think is a full 6 points for Orange County this week?
Hey, it's the Western Conference for a reason, and it's the Leastern Conference for a reason. So I'm high on the Western Conference supply, and I'm all for 6 points here.
Awesome. So what are your predictions then for the 2 matches? We've already shared our predictions. What's your prediction?
Well, I am massively late. I'm gonna go 2-1 both matches, and well, again, it's a numbers game, right? So Mr. Milan Olowski scoring.
Make sure you get the right Olowski there, right?
Yeah. Can't pick both.
Make sure you get your picks in, though, Dylan. That's what's hurting you this year. You're not getting those picks in.
Here's the thing is I predicted quite a bit at the beginning of this year. Got myself 17 points. Then we started winning. And I haven't been putting my predictions in, and we just keep winning. So
you're not someone that plays. You're not someone that plays this whole game of doing the same thing over and over because it creates wins. I mean, you've bashed me numerous times over the years about that. You've been getting frustrated with Larry over his things. So you're not allowed to jump on that boat now, Dylan. You've made it known you do not support that process. Yeah,
it's definitely. I don't even want to say it's laziness. It's just kind of forgetting and then being at work, and then I get off of work and it's past the deadline. I'm like, oh, all right, another week where Brad's going to be disappointed in me.
It's adulting. That's what it is. You have other more important things going on than a silly little podcast game that we do here.
I wish I didn't, to be honest with you. This is so much more fun.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could? Here's what we'll do. Let's as a podcast, we'll just keep buying lottery tickets every year. Maybe we'll win the jackpot, and then all of us can just do this for a living. We actually can pay our people, our on-air talent, our writers to just do this and have fun and enjoy soccer. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah. Let's do this. Hey. We've talked about this. Dylan, do you have any other thoughts on Charleston? Because you talked a little bit about Lily Ball and Pittsburgh. Anything on Charleston you want to share before we start going and wrapping this thing up and get to our random thoughts?
Yeah, and just to hopefully someone clips this in the USL world and I can get roasted on social media, never see it. But last year, OC alum Matt Sheldon played for Charleston, and they were... I don't think there's any other says they were very bad. They were very poor. This year, he made the transfer on over to Hartford, and they are very bad. So
you're blaming Matt Sheldon? I
don't think it's his fault, but I don't know. There's something going on there.
But you really
I'm not trying to draw any conclusions. I think that's very unfortunate for him. I don't think it's hilarious. I think it's sad. I feel bad for the man because
let's get a clip of this. We could share it with Matt, and maybe he'll and that's unfortunately we can't tag Dylan because he avoids social media stuff, but we'll put his picture all over things, and we'll let
send him my address.
Yeah, we'll send Dylan's address for that. Dylan, did you get yourself a gnarly kit?
Look, I'm not gonna speak ill of. Look, I just declined to speak ill of a player. I just expressed my misfortune, or dismay at his misfortune. I'm not gonna speak ill of Nathan here or any other people who I know or don't know that bought the gnarly kit. But no,
you're still mad that gnarly
not.
blocked your view at the watch party 2 seasons ago or whenever it was, huh?
It was all worth it for that ring.
Now, if OC, and we're gonna maybe pressure OC on this, if OC gets on the ugly sweater thing for the winter time, would you buy a gnarly ugly sweater? Maybe it could have like the red gnarly fur just sort of dangling all over the sweater with some weird stuff going on.
All right, here's the real thing that's going to get me flamed on the internet. No, I'm not. I don't think Christmas is that fun.
I didn't say Christmas. I just said it was a holiday.
I don't think the holiday season is fun. There. Sorry to other religious believers.
So let's get this clipped, and we'll send it up to the North Pole so Santa Claus can see this as well, and put Dylan on the naughty list.
You've given me plenty of coal already. Don't worry.
Let's get to our random thoughts for this episode. You all know the deal. Random thoughts about anything. Could be soccer, could not be soccer. Let's go to you first, Nathan. What's your random thought for this episode?
All right, so I just want to throw some quick stats about the matchups. OC versus Pittsburgh all time, pretty good. We are 4-1-2 all time against them. But versus Charleston, not so good. OC is currently only 1-3-2, and this will be both teams' first time play in California since either 2013 or 2014 season. So it's been a while since they've played in Orange County or just Southern California in general. So yeah, it's just my random thought, just useless facts.
Useless facts, Dylan. Do you have a random thought for us?
I've been reading this book. I read 140 pages in the last day, re-listening since I bought it for $8. It's called 4 Underdogs Only, and I will admit, I'm biased. It was written by a teacher that I had in high school, and it's about a coach at my high school, which was Tustin, for those who are curious. So this does, in one way, relate to Orange County. It's quite good, and that's all I'll give you about it. Someone can come borrow it if they're so included. Or so inclined.
Maybe we'll have Matt Shelton come borrow the book from you. When we give him your address, he can come borrow it from you.
Well, we already played Hartford, so he doesn't need the encouragement. Oh, we got a meme.
Oh.
Describe the meme, Dylan.
Okay, it is. It's definitely from Family Guy. It's the Meg is. I'm pretty sure she's yelling at her family, and everyone else is in tuxes. Yeah, she says, "You guys always act like you're better than me." It's Inter Miami, Austin FC, and whatever MLS in San Diego is going to be, and it's Miami. Sorry, the Miami FC or the Miami FC, San Diego Loyal, and Austin Bold. Rest in peace, Austin Bold.
There we go. Wow. Does that take the
out.
place of my random thought then? If we have that, you guys is that you?
Yeah, we already know what your random thought is. Everybody knows. Sorry, dude. It happens. Players transfer every year, every window.
Here's what I'll say about that transfer, and everyone knows what we're talking about. I'm not even going to say the name of the team is, with the circumstances, it's a good piece of business. If you are running a team at that point and that's the situation, and you can double your the initial offer from the other team basically and get a double the amount from them for a player that pretty much you already know is leaving at the end of the season, you have to do it. So up to 120 million if the escalators kick in for a world-class player, although maybe isn't amazing.
Do they not have elevators in Europe?
I don't know.
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah. Thank you, Dylan. But yeah, it's a good piece of business for a team when you know a player's going to leave and ship the player off to Germany instead of letting them sign for free with a rival team in the Premier League and get some money out of it. So, yes. Random thoughts finished. episode finished. We're going to give you guys back about 10 to 12 minutes of your time because we don't have much more to say. And I appreciate Nathan for spending the whole episode with us, Dylan for rushing on to try and join us as soon as he was available to do so. Plus all y'all that were in the chats. Brad was in the chats the whole time. Apparently he could type, but he couldn't be on camera for whatever reason, but we appreciate that. And hey, the Rally Monkey joined us as well. Very excited about Orange County. So thank you, Rally Monkey, for doing so. As always, check our website for our written stuff, which includes previews, recaps. I think potentially we're going to get a food review up again in the near future. And thank you, Nathan, for the work you contribute to all of the written stuff as well. For Dylan, for Nathan, for producer Andy, for everyone else that's part of this podcast team, this is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.